When my son told me I wasn't classy enough to meet the woman he loved, I didn't cry. I didn't shout either. I just smiled, nodded my head, and walked out of his big shiny house. But inside me something broke, quietly, like a dry twig under a heavy boot. Let me take you back so you understand. I raised my son Daniel all by myself. His father left us before he could even say, "Mama." I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I cleaned houses during the day and washed dishes in a restaurant at night. Some days I came home with blisters on my hands and just 1 slice of bread in my bag. And I still gave that slice to him. I remember sewing little animals onto his school sweaters so he wouldn't feel bad that they were secondhand. "Mama got you the designer kind," I'd say, and he'd smile so big you'd think it was Christmas. When it rained and the roof leaked, I'd hold a bowl over his head just so he could sleep dry. That's love. Not fancy clothes. Not silk napkins. Real love. And I never once complained. Years passed. My little boy grew up. Smart as anything. Always reading. Always dreaming. I saved every penny, took loans, sold my wedding ring, just to send him to the best schools. He became a lawyer. Big one. With suits that cost more than my rent. He moved into a posh neighborhood with gold handles on the doors and security guards who looked at me like I was invisible. But I didn't care. That was my baby. He made it. We made it. Then one day he called. "Mama," he said, "I have some good news. I'm getting married." I jumped up, knocking over my tea. I was so happy I nearly cried. "Oh, Daniel, I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to meet her." There was silence on the other end. Then he said, "Mama, about that." I frowned. "What's wrong?" He sighed. "I don't think it's a good idea for you to meet her. Not yet." I sat there confused. "Why not? I'm your mother." He coughed. "It's just, her family is different. They're used to a certain class. And I don't want to make things awkward." I still didn't understand. "You mean I can't come to the engagement dinner?" He cleared his throat. "It's not about you. Just, you've got your own vibe." That's when I knew. He wasn't ashamed of who he was. He was ashamed of me. "You think I'm not classy enough?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. But silence is an answer too. My hands trembled as I placed the phone down. I sat there for a long time, staring at the wall. This boy, my boy, the one I gave my whole life for, was now embarrassed of me. And it didn't stop there. I found out from a friend that Daniel had told his fiancée I lived abroad. That's why I wouldn't be at the dinner. He had erased me. Pretended I didn't exist. And you know the worst part? I didn't even get angry. Not then. I just felt empty. That night, I lay on my bed and stared at the ceiling, remembering all the nights I stayed awake watching him breathe, listening to his tiny snores, kissing his fevered forehead, praying, always praying. And now he had everything he wanted. Except me. But I'm not a woman who stays down for long. No, ma'am. Got up. Showered. I prayed again, this time not for him but for me. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight him. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to rise. He wanted classy. I'd show him classy. I just needed a plan. The next morning I walked into a job agency. Asked them for something temporary part-time. "You sure you want to work?" the lady asked. "You look like someone who should be retired." Smiled. "I've got fire left in me." She gave me a paper. Catering. Luxury events. Short shifts, good pay. Took it. And just like that I went from being invisible to being everywhere. I wore an apron. I carried trays of drinks. I said yes ma'am and no sir and smiled till my cheeks hurt. No one looked twice at me. I was just the help. But I didn't mind. 'Cause I was waiting, watching, learning. And then, it happened. 3 weeks in I was called for a big event. Corporate gala. Dress neat. Be polite. "These are high-class people," the supervisor said. I ironed my uniform twice. Cleaned my shoes till they shone. And when I walked into that bright, shining hall with a silver tray in my hand, I didn't know it yet, but I was walking straight into my son's fiancée's world. And my story was just beginning. The gala was held in a tall glass building, the kind that sparkles like diamonds under the sun. It had big chandeliers, golden walls, and men in suits that looked like they'd never even touched dust. I stood near the back with a tray of drinks, heart pounding. Just another shift, I told myself. Be invisible. Do the job. Go home. But deep inside, hope. I hoped I'd see her. The girl who was going to marry my son. I didn't know what she looked like. I had only heard her name once, Amanda. But something in me, something soft and quiet, whispered, "You'll know her when you see her." And I did. She walked in wearing a cream-colored gown that flowed like melted silk. Her smile lit up the room like candles in the dark. Everyone turned to look at her, but she didn't act proud. She looked calm, warm. I stood frozen. That was her. Amanda. My son's fiancée. She didn't know me. She had no idea I was the woman her future husband had erased. I tried to stay out of sight. But then fate, sweet, sharp, clever fate, stepped in. As I turned to take another tray from the kitchen, one of the servers bumped me. The tray tipped. Glasses rattled. One fell. I gasped as I reached to catch it, but too late. It hit the floor. Shattered. Heads turned. Few people stared. My heart sank. "Are you okay?" a voice asked. Soft, kind voice. I turned around slowly, and there she was. Amanda. Not annoyed. Not angry. Just concerned. "I'm fine," I said quickly, bending to pick up the glass. She knelt beside me. "No need," she said gently. "You'll cut yourself." "I'm used to it," I whispered. She looked at me. Really looked. Then her eyes caught my necklace. A small gold locket. Well, a little scratched, but filled with memories. "My," she said, smiling. "That's beautiful." My throat tightened. That locket. My son had bought it for me with his first paycheck. "For the woman who gave me everything," he had said. I nodded slowly. "It means a lot to me." She stood up, brushing off her dress. "I love it. It's rare to see jewelry with real heart these days." I don't know what came over me, but I smiled. "You have good taste." We stood there for a moment, just the two of us, two women from different worlds. Then she said, "Have we met before?" I shook my head. "No, dear. I don't think so." "I feel like I've seen your eyes," she said. I laughed a little. "Maybe in a dream." She laughed too, and it filled me with such a strange joy. "What do you do outside this?" she asked, pointing to my apron. "I used to run a small flower business," I replied. "From home. Made wedding bouquets, centerpieces. That kind of thing." Her face lit up. "Really? That's amazing. I work for a bridal brand. We're starting a new floral division. We need people with that kind of touch." I blinked. She reached into her purse and handed me a card. "Here. That's my CEO's contact. You should call." "I mean it." I stared at the card in my hand. Amanda didn't know who I was. But she saw me. Saw me. Not a server. Not a burden. Not someone to hide. She saw a woman with talent. She smiled again. "Hope to see you soon, out of that apron." Then she walked away, laughing with her friends. I stared after her, speechless. Something had shifted. Maybe this wasn't revenge. Maybe this was redemption. 2 weeks later, I stood outside a glass office. My hands were shaking. I wore my best blouse, the one with tiny white flowers on it. Hair neat. Shoes clean. I walked in and asked for the name on the card. The receptionist raised an eyebrow, but pointed me toward a conference room. Inside, 3 people sat around a table. One of them, tall, sharp eyes, elegant voice, was Amanda's CEO. I introduced myself, told them about my years doing flowers, my little business, my hands shaking the whole time. They listened. And when I was done, the CEO leaned back and said, "You've got something we can't teach, soul." She handed me a folder. We'd like you to help us design our new wedding collection. You'll consult. Flexible hours. Fair pay. I nodded, stunned. It was happening. Me. A flower lady from a small apartment. Sitting in a boardroom with people who wore shoes I could never afford. Called it my second life. The kind of life people like me don't get. Unless someone opens a door. Amanda did that. Without knowing. Weeks passed. I learned the ropes. Gave ideas. Real ones. Good ones. And the CEO. She loved them. One day she said, "We're doing a photo shoot next month for the campaign. You should come." I agreed. And that was the day my world collided again. Photo shoot day. The models posed with giant flower arches I helped design. My name was even on the planning board. Consultant, Mrs. Helen N. I was laughing with the CEO, sipping juice when the door opened. And there he was. Daniel, my son. And Amanda. They both froze. His face turned white. Amanda blinked. Confused. "Helen?" she asked. My heart beat like thunder. But I stayed calm. "Oh, hello, dear," I said, standing tall. Daniel stepped forward. "You know her?" Amanda nodded. "Of course. She's the floral consultant. She's brilliant." He stammered. "She's just a vendor." I turned to Amanda, smiled sweetly. "Congratulations, sweetheart. You're marrying my son." Her eyes widened. The CEO raised her eyebrows. Amanda looked from him to me, then back to him. "Wait, what?" He nodded. "He didn't tell you I was his mother." Amanda took a step back. "He said you lived abroad." I smiled gently. Apparently, I wasn't classy enough. She stared at Daniel. Her lips trembled. And right there I saw her heart break. And his pride shatter. But I didn't feel sorry. Not one bit. Because this wasn't just revenge. It was truth. And truth always finds a way to bloom. Amanda stared at Daniel for a long time. You could hear the silence in the room. It was the kind of silence that screams. He tried to speak. "Amanda, I didn't tell you because it didn't matter." She looked at him with tears forming in her eyes. "You lied. You said your mother was out of the country." "I just didn't want you to judge her," he mumbled. "She's not like this world." He turned to me. "You're his mother." I smiled and nodded. "I am." I raised him with everything I had. The CEO stepped forward now, frowning. "Wait, Daniel, this is your mother. You let her serve drinks at our gala." He looked down at his shoes. "I didn't know she'd be there. I didn't think she'd apply." Amanda covered her mouth. "You didn't invite your own mother to your engagement dinner. And then you lied to me about where she lives." He said nothing. "I told you I wanted to meet your family. You said your parents were complicated." Her voice cracked. "You made me believe your mom was someone we had to hide." My heart ached for her. She was kind. She didn't deserve this. Amanda turned to me. "Mrs. Helen, why didn't you say anything at the gala? Why didn't you tell me who you were?" I looked at her gently. Because he already made his choice. He chose to be ashamed of me. I didn't want to shame him back. I just wanted to see the kind of woman he was marrying. She looked down, her lips trembling. "And what do you think?" I stepped closer and held her hand. "I think you're better than he deserves." Daniel flinched. "Mama, please don't." But I raised my hand and he stopped. The CEO crossed her arms. "Daniel, I think we're done here. You're no longer needed on our legal retainer." "What?" His head snapped around. "I can't work with someone who hides his own mother like a stain," she said coldly. "You're firing me. Call it rebalancing karma." Amanda looked at me again. "May I ask you something?" "Yes, dear." "That day at the gala. Why were you even working there?" I took a deep breath. Because after he said I wasn't classy enough, I wanted to see what class really looked like. And I wanted to earn my dignity back, not by yelling or begging, but by rising. Tears streamed down her face. "You're more graceful than anyone I've met." Daniel stepped forward. Amanda, please. Don't do this. She shook her head. You told me we were building a life on honesty, love, and trust. But it was built on lies. But, no, you lied about your mother. You looked her in the face and erased her. What would you do to me if I didn't meet your standards someday? He tried to grab her hand. She pulled away. Goodbye, Daniel. She walked out of the room. The CEO followed, leaving just me and my son. He turned to me. You ruined everything. I raised my eyebrows. I ruined it. You lied. You hid me. You made me feel like dirt. He opened his mouth, but I stepped forward. Do you remember that little locket around my neck? Yes. He nodded. You gave it to me with your first paycheck. You said, for the woman who gave me everything. He looked down. I pulled off the locket gently and placed it in his hand. I'm returning it. Maybe now you understand its real price. I walked away. He called after me, voice broken. Mama, wait. Please, help me fix this. I turned once, just for a moment. You forgot me when you rose, I said softly. Now you can watch me rise without you. Then I walked out. 2 weeks later, Amanda ended the engagement. The wedding was cancelled. The CEO made me part of the permanent creative team. I now design flowers for high-end weddings all over the city. They call me the Bloom Lady. Sometimes I pass by Daniel's office. It's not as fancy anymore. He works alone now. No big clients. No important name. He called me 3 more times. I never picked up. 'Cause you see, when people forget who helped them rise, it's only fair they watch you bloom from below. I wasn't classy enough, he said. Well, now I wear class like a crown. And this crown was built from broken pieces. Every late night, every skipped meal, every tear wiped away in silence, every sacrifice he never saw. I didn't need revenge to hurt him. I needed truth to wake him up. And I needed love to remind myself who I really was. His mother, his root, his beginning, and now, his lesson. Classy enough for you now, son.